What's going on, everybody? Core Conversations, third day in a row of freestyles, simply because it just is what it is, man. We just flow with this. So I'm looking forward to our chat today about mental hygiene. I'm going to lean on you as the experts to discuss it, talk about it in the chat afterwards, repost whatever you need to do to discuss this. So, Ali, how are you? It should be an interesting chat today. I want to discuss it. I'd love to have people join me on screen and talk about mental hygiene and what this term means. And we'll unpack it a little bit in a second. After doing my housekeeping stuff, as you know. Yes, well, today's podcast drop is going to be fun. So Tasha, yes. And so Ali, do you have any time to join me on screen today? It'll be fun. If you can, Tasha and Michelle. Cadence for Your Life is a podcast called Cadence for Your Sign for the podcast. Link in bio. And one more thing. Set up for success. Our clients for success. Sorry, guys. Our clients. I feel like I can't type today. For success. Bam. All right. All right, let's get it. Misty Lynn, how are you, my friend? I did a pretty solid shout out for your bias workshop as well yesterday. As we were talking, you'll see the repost. I actually pulled up my whole segment at the top about how we're here to help people, and Pilates becomes a tool, much like other things become a tool for that, and then tie that into the fact that our hows are overlaid by our self-esteem, the way we esteem other people, what we project onto people, and our biases, and how we look at the world, and how we look at the people who come into our space, and all these things. So I'm going to repost that also because I'm going to repost that whole piece today to announce my intentions for running for city council for next year. And I'm just really passionate about helping my community through being a ward counselor. So there's my how for doing that. There's a lot of people out there in the world that go for jobs, political office, because they want power. They want a stepping stone to be somewhere else. They don't even live in the area. I lived in this area my parents moved here when I was 2. So I've lived in this area for like 44 years, with the exception of moving away for school and stuff like that. So passionate about this area, and tying that into kind of one of my next steps. And I'm going to use my talk from yesterday to see that this is my life story. These are the hows. And in the same way I help people with the fitness thing, I'm coming back to community once again, and still have this Pilates thing going on too. But anyway, that's what's up. Ali, if you want to join me on screen, give me a thumbs up, and I'll have you join me right now. And I want to talk about this mental hygiene thing. We all brush our teeth. Let's start with the assumption or the bias that everyone in this room brushed their teeth. Maybe put some deodorant on. I didn't have to do my hair this morning. We got this physical hygiene thing down. What are our best practices for our mental hygiene? And what I mean by that is, for our clients who are just stuck, how do we help them get unstuck? For our clients who, actually, I'll bring Ali on right now, and I'll share a quick story to kind of set this up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Can you just do it with a little bit more energy next time? I just wasn't feeling
It
that.
feels good.
Yeah. So I had this client this morning, and we were talking about one of her friends. We have a mutual friend, and saying that she is working out 18 hours a week. She's doing F45 classes, and she does a spin class, and she's getting her workouts, and she's doing all these different things. And my client was like, "Do I need to be doing more?" And I was like, "No, you do not. You were exactly on pace." And there's a skeptical part of me that's like, okay, so for this person, are you A, trying to outpace a bad diet? B, are you obsessed with working out for working out's sake? C, are you bragging about what you're doing to make other people feel? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things that could be tied into that. And that segued into this conversation about mental hygiene. How are we taking care of ourselves? Are we resting? Are we sleeping? Are we doing all the other stuff? Because we don't necessarily have to clock 18, 20, 24 hours of physical lifting weights a week to be healthy.
Right.
So anyways, that's the piece that we started with. So yeah.
I mean, I would, for me, if I had a client like that and they asked me that, I ask them why. I think that would be, do you know why? Why are you working out this way? What are your goals? Do your goals align with, how you're approaching your practice? I think that a lot of people equate exhaustion with like rest. Like, oh, I'm gonna exhaust, like I'm gonna, now I can rest because, so
Right.
this idea of rest, rejuvenation, any of those things being an important part of a practice. People just they don't value that, and
They
I
don't.
think that that's a cultural thing. I think I think the way that we work out in this country is definitely a reflection of where we are. So something that I think is interesting is I'm seeing a lot more, because of COVID, I'm seeing a lot more people interested in things that are more restorative. I
Mm-hmm.
know that the somatic practices have gotten a boost
Yes.
from this, like people really trying to not only be physically fit, but also help regulate their nervous system.
Sure.
So I think that, mental hygiene, I don't think a lot of people, I like that description because I think it might make people think differently about it.
Sure.
Like, oh wait, I need to have hygiene, like for my
Yeah.
my brain and my mind. And so I just, yeah, I don't think a lot of people think about it.
They don't.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Brent Anderson was on last week, and he used that phrase. I'm like, that's brilliant. I'm gonna write that
Yeah.
down, right? Because I think that captures. Like you say that, and people can automatically know what you're talking about, right?
Hmm.
And it's like our physical hygiene. If I've been on here, I've done some shows like on the shopping channel, and forgot to put deodorant on, and like you're like, oh my gosh, but then at the same time you're like, oh, we're on TV, they can't smell me anyways, whatever, right? So we can get away with our hygiene being off some way sometimes, and people will be none the wiser. But I think the same thing we can do with our mental hygiene. We can get away with it being off, and people are none the wiser until it impacts us or slows us down, or we hurt people with our words or our shortness or our kids or whatever it is, right? Like we could
Yeah.
play it off for a minute. So trying to be proactive with it.
Yeah. And that, like, I teach from the fancy word is a
Smell-o-vision.
bio smell-o-vision, a psychosocial perspective. So that means that when, everything is going to affect that person. So how they're moving, how they're thinking, what their, social construct is, all of those things. So, and I think it's an interesting topic to discuss in Pilates because, like, I was having a discussion with Tammy Leisher, and we were talking about how she said to me that someone actually said to her, there is no trauma in Pilates. And I'm like, how's that even possible? You're working with people. You're working with people,
Right.
So,
Yes.
so that is, I think it's so important for us as movement teachers to take that into consideration, and to, ask those questions. If someone's interested, like your client, like, do you need to do more? I don't know. What do you think? And why are you doing what you're doing? And does it align with what your needs are in your life,
Yes, absolutely. Ali, can you just tell people just a little bit about what you do and how unique your practice is? Because I think it's really cool and people might be not familiar with
Well,
that
I'm actually,
approach.
this is a nice little, like, I can give myself a little plug. It's not created
Yes.
yet, but I am creating an online, it'll all be pre-recorded, and it's called Soma Movement, and it is holistic fitness for your body, mind, and spirit. So it is going to include everything from, everything's going to be short. Things will be no more than half an hour, but there'll be lots of things to choose from. They're like 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I'm calling it a movement buffet. So it's like, what do you need today? Can you answer that question? Do you need some meditation? Do you need some somatic body work? Do you want to do strength training? Do you want to feel strong? Would you like to learn a little bit more about your body? So it's kind of this pick and choose, build your own practice, or I'll provide, like certain pre organized ones. But
Yes.
it's that idea that our fitness is not just about the physical body of our muscles and bones, that it is about the mind, it is about the spirit, it is mental hygiene, spiritual hygiene,
Yes.
and all of that affects everything else. So
feel free to run with that word. Like, you could use that way better than I can.
yeah.
So,
I like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, that's how I teach. Like, I'm always, and that's how a lot of people teach. So, but I'm always going to ask someone, I don't even say anymore, like, how are you feeling? I'll say, what did you do with your week? What's been going on with you? Because if I say, how are you feeling? Most of the time it's like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. But then if you say, well, what's been going on with your week? Then it's like, oh, well, my kid was sick, and then my car broke down. But then I got this great promotion at work. But then, so kind of following that, thread, and then really choosing what I feel would be best for them, as far as what they need, and taking into consideration, I do work with people that are like, don't give me any of that breathing stuff.
Yes.
I just want to work out,
Right.
And so I'll sneak it in a little bit, but I think also that our practice, I like to call it that, our practice, our movement practice, it's very personal. Health is very personal. Mental hygiene, very personal. So what might be someone's need is very different to another person's. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love the fact that I'm talking about mental hygiene today, and then you show up to talk about it. Like, and I just, spontaneously brought in the subject matter expert to just take over for today, and I'll
I
just
don't know
lean
about
back.
that. I need to work on my mental hygiene.
Of course, we all do.
But that's also, I think, what draws me to study what I study, and be interested in what I'm interested in. I think a lot of times it's what you were saying about your background. I have a background in, I have a degree in sociology. I sort of went back to school for developmental psychology. I was going to be a therapist, and decided I didn't want to go that route. And now I feel like I do therapeutic work. without most of the paperwork, although it's an unfortunate thing that what we do is not under some umbrella of some type of insurance.
Right.
Because to me, what we give is, you know, some pretty hardcore healthcare. But
Right.
yeah. So
Are there any,
yeah.
I wonder if there's any groups that are actually lobbying for it. Like, I don't know anyone in North America that is lobbying for that at this point.
I mean,
If
I don't
anyone
know
in the
how.
chat knows, I don't know, but
Yeah, I think it would be really hard just with how regulated everything is. I mean, I have PTs that I refer people to, and they don't work with insurance because they can't actually do the work that they do in the way that they want to do it under insurance.
yes. Interesting. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
So, yeah.
Nice. So when's the launch of your a la carte buffet mental hygiene program?
There's some good advertising. A la carte mental hygiene.
Yes.
I'm hoping in the next month or so. I'm building
Cool.
it and filming, and yeah, we'll hopefully get that going.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited
Great.
for it. It's you know, I was going in all these different directions, and finally I just sat down and said, why am I trying so hard to be so much of something more when I really just have all these, I wasn't valuing some of the things that I already had.
That you already have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good spot when you could look back and take inventory and be like, I am pretty good at this. Look at
Yeah.
all this.
Like I don't need anymore.
I don't need anymore.
Sit
Yeah.
down right here and, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Nice. Do it. Well, I hope that you could stay locked in on the video, like on the recording part and all the mundane admin stuff to make it happen, because that's usually where we kind of get distracted. So
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
stay locked on that, and I look forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go. And I don't know if Misty's still around, but I want to hear a little bit about her bias program. And if anyone else has stuff that's coming up, jump in and we can talk about your program. So that's fun. Thank you so much, Allie. It was so fun
Thank
to catch up with
you.
you.
Bye.
This is really good coffee this morning. Misty, you still around? Anyone else can give me a thumbs up if you got something that you're working on and want to talk about. I'd love to support you in that. It goes on to replay. People see it after too, so it's not even just for this moment. So yeah, I'll invite you on. Okay, so decline. And Tammy, I'll have you on in a second here. Just want to see what's going on with Misty. Iris, good to see you. Emmett, as always, good having you. All right, Misty, give me a thumbs up when you're good to go. And Tammy, I'll bring you on. I'd love to hear what's going on in the trauma-informed world. It's funny, my feed is really, really slow right now as well. Hi, my friend.
Hi, I was driving. I had to pull over. I was listening. I was listening. I had to be safe. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Actually am doing, and I just want to tell you that what I'm doing is as a result of my conversation that I had with you back in the beginning of August. And I am going to do a 3-week mini course at the end of October. So I think it's October 14th, 21st, and 28th. There'll be 3 45-minute sessions, and I'm going to give an overview of what is trauma informed, and then we'll break down some like questions that they may have. So I'm going to do it via Zoom. but the information should be coming out like this week. So
That's exciting. That's
and then
huge.
the other thing that I'm doing is I am like you're going to do pink. Is it pink Pilates or
Pilates goes
Pilates
pink?
goes pink? Pilates goes
Yes.
pink. At the end of October, I'm going to do October 16th. I'm going to do a class 2.
Okay,
So
amazing.
I wasn't part of that group, but so at the end of October, Martin, I will be a 15-year breast cancer survivor. So
Wow.
yeah, so I'm excited about doing a class. So yeah. So I want to say that I absolutely love the conversations that you're having. They're so powerful. Yesterday's was really powerful. So, but
Oh, yeah, no, thank you. That's like so that what a great month for you. That's so exciting.
I'm excited, and I've been doing more Facebook Lives and getting my name out there a little bit more. But and
Look at you
then
with your hustle on.
yeah, and then Allie and I are going to put together like some chats. Don't know exactly what they're going to look like, but
Yes.
so we're going to put together some things and have some chats about the importance of trauma education for everybody. So just like, and
Yes.
I think that, the mental health piece is just so important, and that goes right along with trauma, goes right into that mental health piece of it. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's great. And you know what, Tammy, I feel like we've been talking and that phrase is like trauma and trauma informed has been going around for a lot. And I like the fact that it's becoming a normal part of our conversation and not in a watered down way, almost like in an informed way. Like, okay, like this is something we need to consider. And like when we had our conversation, it's not that we have to talk about it like I need to be able to have every single answer. I just need to be able to identify where someone is at
Yes.
and where to point them next. So I think that these conversations are making people more comfortable to have a conversation and to identify and to be able to talk around it without
Mhm.
feeling like they have to be the expert on it.
Well, and that's where I'm just going to say this. I feel you were talking about your how yesterday,
Yes.
and my how is I'm taking. I'm just going to say it like this. I'm taking my trauma adversities and turning them into trauma awareness. So I'm taking
Mm,
and we all and I read something or not yesterday. I listened to a podcast with Brene Brown, and she talked about trauma, and she said every single one of us all have some kind of trauma,
mhm.
but it's just it's like you're in it. It doesn't minimize what your trauma was, what my trauma was, but the fact is we've all experienced it, and not to minimize anybody's.
Right.
So
Yes.
but I'm glad that I can bring a deeper voice to it, because it's like it's just such an important topic. And when you think about how it impacts our movement or
Yes.
doesn't impact our movement, whether it's somebody who's experienced, I don't know. All right, I'll give you an example. My client this morning, and I'm working with her. She's a 7-year post rehab breast cancer survivor, and she
Mm.
has had a lot of range of, can you see my arm? So like the range of motion, like when she takes her arm back, like,
Okay.
and she still is experiencing it because she's really sore, and so she's really kyphotic right now. And just talking about it, she became emotional, and it's like, I just think that we need to not minimize it so much. And so I appreciate you being a voice like that too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That's so good. Yeah, it is. Um, that's. I'm so happy for you. I don't know how to say it. Like, I'm really happy for. I'm really excited for all the different things that you have going on this month. Um, 15 years and celebrating that by giving the gift of movement to other people too is so powerful.
Thank you.
It's so good. I'm just reading Emmett's comment here.
I
Oh,
know.
Erica Quest too. Um, hey, Erica, California's in the house. And Emmett Younger says it's
Yeah.
not just the size of the trauma, it's how we experience it and move on or don't move on from it.
Yes, 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 yes. And that's Emmett, and he pronounces it Emmett, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think so.
Anyway, I don't know. Anyways, and that's where the piece that he wrote right there, or doesn't move on. And so many times people don't even realize that their trauma impacts them. And then they come to a movement class or whatever they're doing. And then all of a sudden we open up something like we're cracking open a nut or something, and the emotions come out, and it's like learning to, and it's from a movement standpoint, it's like, how do you, just beginning
Yes.
to be giving them space.
Yes.
And I think it's really important. And I love the fact that you're talking about, yes, we teach Pilates, but there's so many other modalities that we can incorporate to use with people of what they need.
Yes.
So,
I had
thank you, Emmett.
yeah, Amit.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, it's Amit. Oh, all right. I had it wrong. All right. Thank you.
I'm gonna share a quick story. I don't want to keep you because you're on the road there.
No, I'm not driving. I pulled over.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
But I know.
There's another part to that I thought of as you're talking about the trauma, and everyone has trauma. There was a time I was in this, my church back in the day was doing like a men's meeting, and they were going through this book called Wild at Heart. And it's a fantastic book. And it's talking about the wound and how everyone has a wound, and it related to your father and how that makes you man, all those different things.
Yep.
And I remember sitting in this meeting, and they were talking about all these different experiences, and then they gave us some time to just break out into the group or our table and just share, what perhaps could have been that wound for you. And I remember sitting there and kind of like shrugging my shoulders a little bit, like, I can't think of that wound. I can't think of that moment. I can't think of that thing. Because, I'm fortunate to have a great dad. I'm fortunate to have someone who I can remember him like quitting a job to spend more time with us, or like being at games, or just trying, like, all the different things that just make for good experiences. I just have a positive experience with my father all the way through. And I remember after that meeting, going in the car and sitting down in the car and calling him and just saying like, thanks for being a great dad, because I'm sitting in this meeting where all these guys are in tears and looking back on their wound, and I couldn't find one to share. And there's a sense of gratitude for that.
Mm-hmm. And when I hear you say that, I'm extremely glad that you had an experience like that, because unfortunately my story with my father would be completely opposite of yours. And he wasn't around much, and when he was a very hands-off father, if that makes sense. And I'll just leave it at that. So yeah. But that's awesome that your dad was like that. And is your dad still alive today?
He is. He just went for knee surgery today. So I just before I got on air, he just came out and said that everything went great. Yeah. So
and and that's wonderful. So, but I think that when we talk about just our life stories and even our relationships, and I don't just talk like in the trauma informed course, a lot of our attachments start from when we're really like young, like as an infant, and those form our relationships for the rest of our lives, whether it's, your relationship with your mother, the relationship with your father, and those kind of things have a direct correlation. And that's why you hear me talk about childhood trauma, because the things that happened in our childhood still have a bearing on us as adults. And how we set boundaries, or we don't set boundaries, or things that, and everybody's different. So
yeah,
absolutely. So, but I appreciate your and like just even coming from, because you're social work, I have family life education, and you were talking about family systems theory yesterday, and I'm a huge proponent for family systems theory, and it's just so powerful, and we just don't realize, we bring those things into our adulthood, and
we do.
So, but it's lots of good stuff going on in the world of Pilates right now.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to let I'm gonna get off so Misty can come on, because I've been paying attention and listening and joining in with her a lot, and I've really enjoyed our conversations, and I've really enjoyed it. And aren't you doing? I'm asking because
Yes.
aren't you doing a lunchtime conversation on Friday?
Am I?
Yeah, I thought Brown. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Is it this Friday? I gotta double check. I have to check my schedule.
Oh
Whew.
God, I'm sorry. I thought I saw
My
that.
heart
I'm
just
sorry.
dropped. I'm
Maybe
like,
it's.
did I
Oh
miss
darn.
something?
Maybe I got the wrong Friday. I'm just like, okay.
Maybe. All right.
All
Well,
right. All
I'll
right.
look into that.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So,
Okay,
all
always.
right.
I love the chat.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Yes, calendar.
Do I have to take myself off, or do you undo me?
Yeah, you have to press there's an X in the top right corner.
Is that going to take me out of the whole thing?
I don't think so. Let's see. That conversation is not next week. It's the week after, I think. Anyway. Whew. All right, so we're back. I hate when I double book myself or forget stuff. Like, that's the worst feeling for me. Maybe that's my own trauma with this sense of wanting to be professional and just like bring it all the time. So, and also the stereotype of being Black and late, or West Indian and being late, or Jamaican and being late. Hate those stereotypes. Anywho, Misty, are you around? You want to get this? Looks like her Wi-Fi is not up. Jesu Shuba? Hi. Hi, Lisa. Great chat yesterday. Thank you so much. What's going on, Color Robin? Lisa Reed Yoga. Looks like Misty might have logged out to log back in, so let's see here. So that's such rich conversations already today. And I just want to circle back to the mental hygiene for a moment. What kind of things do you suggest to your clients to ensure that they're taking care of themselves on the back end, apart from their hour with you? What are your check-in points? Whether it's like their sleep, their rest and recovery, their fuel, their playtime, their relationships, like what kind of stuff do you dive deep on just to kind of get a sense of how they're doing in their time apart from you? Homework, the emotional check-in, good stuff. Anita, are you pretty strict with like giving homework? Like, do these 5 exercises, or here's a sheet and make sure you sign that sort of thing? Like, is the homework a formal thing, or is it kind of a casual thing like me, where I'm like, okay, this is your homework for today, but never really follow up on it, and just like make sure that they're moving. Like, how strict or formal are you with that? Always. Mm. Yes. Depends on the student, she says. If you're wondering why I always read the comments, because on the replay, they don't come up in the feed. So just so you know what people are saying, that's what I do. Also, while stuff's flowing through there, thank you so much. You know what I really appreciate is when people like screenshot the conversation and then post it on their page just so that people can like say this is going on or this is the chat that we had. Hannah, how are you? Good to see you. So yeah, so I appreciate that. That lets people know what's going on, and we're doing great stuff here, right? So how is Hannah doing? My LinkedIn friend. I'm working on that. Explore Pilates says, I have one who is very precise, so ask him to show me what he's worked on. Wow, look at you. Good for you. You have to inspect what you expect, right? Another part of the conversation with this mental hygiene, as I was talking with my colleagues this morning about it, it's funny, I talked to my client about it, talked to some of my colleagues, we've been kind of bouncing this idea around a lot, is actually giving people permission to rest. They're with us because they want to work out. There are, they feel like they need to perform to show us that they're working hard. They want to please us in all these different ways. How powerful is it for us to say, I want you to sleep in this weekend. I want you to skip the homework and go apple picking with your kids instead. I want you to, that sort of thing. Like when we give them that permission, obviously we want people to get to a place of their own self-empowerment, but then we also sometimes diminish the fact that we're an authority on movement or fitness in their lives. So for us to give people permission to do these things, sometimes is more powerful than we think. What's your thoughts on that? And I'll bring a Misty in at the same time. Hello.
Hello, I'm falling off the chair.
Just making sure I got everything. My personal hygiene is on point as well as my
Well,
mental hygiene.
if you saw my message yesterday, I only had enough deodorant for one armpit. So I've since recovered.
Okay, good.
But it was serious business.
Yes, it was a crisis.
Indeed.
I love the indeed. So early in the game today.
Well, I love this conversation because it is so very important in so many fronts, back and forth, right? Nourishing the clients and making sure that they get it, but reinforcing it with ourselves is just really, really a challenging thing, especially when we're so used to the grind,
Yes. And when we surround ourselves too with people who are in the grind, it's easy for us to just continue to just do more of that, right? Because if our friends are working 12-hour days and then have a side job and a side hustle and it's easy for us to get in that same routine because there's not enough hours in the day in the fitness industry. You can be as busy as you want to be,
right? Until you fall over half dead. Your adrenals are shot. You're like army crawling to the bathroom and needing to sleep on the floor. And I say that tongue in cheek, but I know that's happened to so many people where they've just beaten themselves into the ground and still felt like they haven't done enough.
Right.
And, part of it is just that solo hustle of, whether you own your business or you're an independent contractor, which means you own your own business, whatever it is, it's a big commitment that we tend to leave ourselves out of.
Right.
And we need to remember that it doesn't run without us. So we have to make sure we continue to run. That mental hygiene piece is critical.
Absolutely. And it's so reinforced by our clients too, right? Because we're in the mindset of let's take care of them. But the day that we say, you know what, I'm taking a 3-day weekend just to spend some time with my wife. And they're like, good for you. Like they cheer you on. And like no one gives me the, well, what about our session? Are we going to make that up next Friday? Like no one ever gives me that.
Ooh, see, I wish I could say the same. But I've had people that are like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're taking some time off, but you do know my lesson is Monday at 9, and
Yeah.
I just wrote about this in one of the forums. Like it's one of those things where in my early days, I would have been made to feel guilty. I would have accepted
Yes.
that guilt. I should say, no one
Mhm.
makes you feel guilty. You choose guilt. So I would have accepted that guilt and I would have been like, oh man, I'm so sorry. And then all weekend I'd be whining and crying in my own head about how I left people in a lurch. But,
Yes.
COVID taught me that no,
That they'll be okay.
because if I'm not okay, nobody else is. And P.S., I deserve a break too. No one has a
Mhm.
problem taking time off from their lessons because of whatever.
Right.
That has to go both ways.
Because of
Respectfully.
lame whatever sometimes too. You're like, really? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. For sure.
Mhm.
As an insomniac, so there are a lot of days where I'm like, dude, I don't even know how I walked in here and pushed the Zoom button.
Yeah.
And then somebody else will cancel because, they have a really sore hangnail. And, I understand hangnails are tough, but, we have to, I think that if you're a hard charging driven person, you never want to give yourself that space. But
Yes.
if you don't, you eventually can't show up. And that's what we need to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my clients I still train, my second person ever, and she's a teacher, and on days that it rained, it would be like she has to, the school buses take longer, and then everything takes longer, and everything. So it got to a place where it'd be 8 o'clock in the morning, and she's like, I can't make our 4:30 appointment because it's raining today. And then as she got more into her working out and training and stuff, she started to laugh. She's like, can you believe that I used to cancel because it was raining outside? And now that's a running joke where she's just like, it's raining outside, just charge me for today. Like she gets it, right? But yeah, like she was like, those were her excuses. It's raining outside, so I'm not gonna be there. And so yeah, you got a shout out for Team Insomnia there. That's I don't know if that's a team you want to cheer for, but
I think that I hate insomnia. I will tell you that. But I will also tell you that, like, sometimes my insomnia is the start of some really great ideas, some great thinking, creativity. Usually it's the motivation for my brain to start spinning.
yes.
And that's where I get some good juicy nuggets. So, I don't mind it to a point. Now, when it's like the third, fourth, seventh day in a row, then I'm a little salty. Um, but again, I'm also learning at 47, I'm finally like getting into the program and recognizing that there are things that I can do to make insomnia productive, but not productive in the terms of productive, but
Yes.
productive in terms of what do I need to get from this period, and then how do I need to prepare myself better for the crash that's coming whenever
Right.
I get to go back to sleep.
Yes.
So it's just about recognizing that it's, even though you can lay in bed and curse it, you can also lay in bed and think of just the magic that can come out of it if you're smart about it.
Right. So the ways to take over the world. Speaking of taking over the world, you have a great workshop coming up.
I'm so excited.
Yes, and
Just
I
because
see
it's
your
about
friend.
bias. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, and see Robin's in the chat there too.
Hi, Robin. I love, hate talking about these topics because these are really, really great, important things. And what really makes me happy about is when somebody has an aha and says, I used to be so afraid. It used to wound me, whatever it is, to talk about these things. And now I'm okay with talking about it, and I'm okay with talking about it because we worked on some things. And
Yes.
that's, you know, things don't get better until you talk about them. And then when you talk about them, you get the motivation to do something about it.
Yes.
And that's why I love these workshops. I can do it all the time. Except for if I'm
Yes.
taking a long weekend, then, you know, maybe I might
Right.
have a day off.
Love it. I talked about it yesterday too, right? Like that gets layered into what we're doing. We start to build that into what we do. And what I love, like we were talking about trauma just before you came on, is how we're normalizing the conversation around bias. Like bias isn't a swear word anymore. It's not one of those things where it's just like arms crossed. Okay, here we go with the whole race talk again. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Let's actually normalize the conversation and look a little bit broader into all the different ways that there's bias that we bring into the space, and how do we make it, you know, to quote Brent Anderson, a positive movement experience for people on every single level.
Right, right. I laugh when people, you know, I don't want to talk about that because, you know, I'm just tired of having those conversations.
Yes.
And, you know, when we talk about it in terms of our lives, you know, we have to really look at it honestly. Is that what it is? Are you really tired of having the conversation? Or is it deeper? There's usually a rub of discomfort somewhere when somebody is willing to dig their heels in at that level.
Right.
And so, you know, if we're honest about it, if we give ourselves the grace to see, what did I call it the last time I was talking to you about this? The boogeyman in the closet.
Yeah.
If we give ourselves the space to see that guy, girl, those people, we can then better manage our reaction to what happens.
Absolutely.
But if we're sticking our heels in the ground saying no, then it's just, what do we say when we're moving and we lock our knees out? You know, you're taking stress forces in the wrong places.
Right.
It's being expressed the wrong way. It's causing harm long term. It applies here.
Absolutely. I think that's, you know, one of the things too with that is much like your live the other day where you're answering the question, why am I doing this for the PMA? And then you went to this conversation about how we grow, how we can be wrong, how we can be right, how we can learn, how we can support others, and how we can set aside our own like entrenched position for a greater good, or to support someone else who has a different perspective. You hit on so many different things. Like guys, if you have a chance to go back through Misty's feed and just find that, I can't remember what day it was, but
I think it was last Friday, maybe.
yeah, I think so. It was pretty recent.
Like
But I love that because, as I was saying yesterday, like we need to be able to say I was wrong. That's part of our journey. And if we had set ourselves up for that and we say that, then that's giving everyone around us the opportunity to give us the grace to actually learn and grow and move on from that. And they don't lock us in, and we don't lock ourselves in, and then we can all move. So that person that doesn't want to talk about it anymore is maybe really comfortable where they are with it too.
And I think it's more than just saying I was wrong. I think it's also saying I don't know. You know, we're in an age right now where everybody wants to have the answers to everything. They want to be the expert on everything. And that's just not true. It's inaccurate and it's impossible. And so when somebody knows more than you should probably listen. And you should probably listen with an open mind. I agree with what Allie's saying here about it being a part of mental hygiene. Do you know how much pressure it is to be right all the time? To have every single answer? That is a mountain that I do not want to have to climb.
It's exhausting to think about it.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? So it's like when your little kid asks you why all the time, when you have a little kid around you and they ask you why all the time. It's like, ugh. It's kind of like that, but we don't frame it that way as adults. We can't have all the answers. And, you know, I don't have the answer as to if the PMA is going to sink or swim. That's their job. But I'm going to support the people that are there trying to make a change, because we all suffered a trauma last year.
Yes.
And we've all been suffering for years. at the hands of that organization. And I feel like if they can do better, then they can do it. But they need people to be there to help that happen, to encourage that effort. And
Yes.
I'm going to be talking with Robin Brody. I can't wait because she's got such great perspectives. Like I said in my my live, she's really in it. She's in it. And again, those are the people I want to be around. Even if I don't agree with some of the things that they are doing, and I'm not, it's going to take a while for me to feel comfortable enough to just shake it out and be there.
Right.
But there's some really, really great people in that organization trying to do great things.
Yes.
Kudos to them.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to support.
Absolutely. You know what I like about talking with you, Misty, is the fact that we pretty much cover all the spectrum of people on any topic. So for the person who doesn't know what's going on, for the person who does know, for the person who knows and is ignoring it, for the person who doesn't know and doesn't even know what they like, we try and hit everything so someone can kind of connect somewhere. I find that we both catch ourselves like, yes, and yes, and yes, and.
We're good at that.
I think we're
it's our
pretty good at
superpower.
that.
We're like the Wonder Twins.
This is true. And I was also thinking just in terms of like whether it's trauma or bias, the fact that these workshops are really helpful, these conversations are helpful because it gives us a vocabulary.
Yeah.
Right? It's scary until we have a vocabulary. Trauma-informed approaches is scary until you have a vocabulary. So you can recognize things and you know when to refer all those different things. You want to stay away. You don't want to even go down that street because you fear that you're going to be overwhelmed with stuff that you're not ready for. So I feel like these workshops, I'm super excited for Tammy's workshop. These are things that help us to be ready for those moments.
Yeah. And the thing about that, I'm always saying the thing about because I'm always thinking as I'm saying it. It's my tick. So, but I think that sometimes just booking the workshop or whatever it is the first step. When you book it, it's like, oh, okay, I'm really committed to this. But there's a certain release that comes with that, even if you're sweating putty balls, just thinking about clicking to get into the event.
Right.
It's the first step. And then for people who, trauma and it's such a vast topic that affects so many people in so many different ways. I appreciate what Allie and Tammy and others in the somatics end of the movement are doing. It's such a big chunk and it has such power. Yes. And to get people to get to that place where they acquiesce and say, I need a little bit extra. Is a big deal. And for us as teachers, we all, I think, should be listening to what those two women and others are saying, because especially dealing with what we're dealing with right now with COVID and the afterpinnings, we are going through a trauma right now. It's still happening. People are still in the throes of it. And so it does affect how people are moving and thinking and feeling in the studio. To ask them to leave that behind when they lay down on a piece of equipment or click on Zoom, quite honestly, is cruel.
It's cruel. It's not fair at all. Yeah.
It's not fair at all. You're asking them to be superhuman.
Yep.
So we have to be listening to what these people, these coaches, these trainers, these professionals are telling us. And for those that want to divorce trauma from what we do, they're going to have to explain that to me. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's procrastination. At best.
I think it's more than that. I think it's trying to define what this is based on a metric that doesn't exist. We're not in a trauma-free society.
Right. Yep. It's like signing up for a 5K that's coming up in November. Never going to happen.
Run when chased.
Do you have a t-shirt that says that?
No, but I should actually. I need to talk to Alex about it.
You should. Run when chased. But like when you sign up for something, then you wrap your head around it, then you commit to it, and then you start to move in that direction long before you actually appear on race day.
Yeah.
Can we just leave it at that, like, without you having to run a 5K for me?
Done. I like what
Nice.
Robin said down there too. It's fear of being pigeonholed as a bigot.
Yes.
But I mean, I kind of see it as they're not going to pigeonhole you there. They're going to pigeonhole you somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I think that sometimes we need to give the trauma the space to be. I think I need you to say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, please. I'd love to hear a little more.
Mm. While I'm waiting for him to say that, I love the fact that this is my third day in a row of doing like just a freestyle, no one's scheduled, and these have been like epic conversations. Like this has been such good stuff, like all week long.
Listen here, friend. All of your conversations are great because you're great, one, but two, you have a really great audience that tunes in all the time because they really want to grow.
Mm.
You've created an amazing space. Let's see, just acknowledge that it's there and let the person work through it as they do Pilates. But so I get that.
There's a time and place for that. I
Yeah.
think that's, like that's, and yes.
If somebody comes in and they're wearing it and they need to express it in some way, and we're saying, do this movement and that movement, some of those movements which may be triggering
in spite of,
and for whatever reason, yes, then
yes.
I don't think it's fair to just acknowledge it's there and get back to the Pilates, because the Pilates is informed by the body. The body is going to set the score no matter what. And if they don't break down there, they might fall apart when they get to the cart. Those are the people that on their way home, they call you saying, oh my God, I suddenly have back pain that I didn't have before, and what's going on? Typically,
Yes.
they brought that in with them, and they tried to suppress it during the workout, and they tweaked something.
Yes.
I mean, it happens
Right.
over and over again. And very often we as trainers blame ourselves for it, but that's not what it is. Well, I mean, if we're not letting them be who they are, then maybe it's
Right.
part of it, but it's not addressing the elephant in the room, and then the elephant comes and sits on you.
Yes. Or the elephant disappears altogether. I've had clients who just say, like, you know what, I'm gonna have to take a break for a few months, and they give you like no estimated date of return. And then you're trying to, like, over a text message or a phone call, trying to sort out what's gone wrong. And it's something that's bigger than you, but if it was given some airtime in the room, it might not have got there.
Right. But even then, I think that there's still a place for us when they like go radio silent after saying, I'm going to take a few months off. Again, when we think about being kind, caring healers, like you still reach out. Hey, I haven't seen you in a bit, but I was just thinking about you. And, I do this all the time. I have people that I lost during the pandemic because they didn't want to be virtual. And now I'm only virtual. So, but I really enjoy touching back with those people and saying, hey, I've just been thinking about you. And we usually end up going for coffee or something because they're a part of the family, whether they've moved away or, I've shut myself away, whatever it is, they're still part of the family. They're part of Dragonfly. And there's no family member left behind.
There you go. Unless it's the 5K.
Oh yeah, then they left me behind because I'm at the snack shack around the corner.
Right. Yes. Emmett's comment, yes, and he's an excellent teacher. So we understand that, like, there's.
Oh, I know, he's fabulous. I watch him every time you have him on. So sorry, fangirling.
There's a wisdom that comes with that, and just understanding what we need to do and what a person needs, what we can provide, what we can't provide, all those different things, and we navigate that. And this is all about getting as many tools as possible. And whether it's your workshop or Tammy's or Allie's, whatever, there's going to be people who say, thank you, I need that, let's put that on the shelf in case I need it. And then there's other people who are like, thank you, when's the next one? I'm going to get a certification in this, I'm going to dive, I'm going to start doing my own workshops. And I love when people find their thing and they just run after it. So this is your buffet. We get to taste test all that stuff.
And isn't that kind of what we've done here, right? Just found
Hmm.
something that we've just really discovered a passion for and kept going. I love when people take my workshops multiple times. I've had people say, oh, well, why would people do that? And I say, because one, I have ADD. I say different things every single time. So each time you're getting a different story. But
Right.
it's also, it's like when you go through your first teacher training and you're
Yes.
like, oh man, crap. What do I know? And then so you kind of work it, you teach for a while, and then you say, oh, I need more. So you start doing workshops and you start maybe even doing another teacher training. And you're like, oh, I sort of remember that. And then again, get through it, work it, work it, work it. It's about the curiosity and the learning and the expansion for me anyway.
Yes. I was thinking about it like Scrabble. And I've been playing some Scrabble with Alex of late, and she has been kicking my butt because she's been playing her whole life, and I hate board games. So, so I'm taking this. I realize that it's not just about being able to know how to spell, but it's also about having some strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So I can spell, but I don't have any strategy, so I'm losing. And I feel like this is kind of like our Pilates world too, where we have some words. I have to know how to spell some things, but we need some new strategies on how to address bias, or some strategies on how to address trauma and all these different things. So for me, it's like a Scrabble game. We need some strategy and we need some vocabulary, and we put all these things together, and then we win. I'm coming for you in your Scrabble game. So that's my
All right.
thoughts on it.
We might have to play Words with Friends. I have deleted that app like 10 times, but that's also my problem. You know, I'll
Yes.
play with my partner, Glenn, and I've got the vocabulary, really big vocabulary. Not that he doesn't, but I will say I've got a great vocabulary. And then he'll beat me with a word like so, because of the way he's placed his tiles like from the beginning. And I'm like, damn it! Ugh. It gets me every time. So I feel your pain on that one. And,
Yes.
you know, we might have to come up with some sort of sneak attack
All
so we
right.
can take our partners out. But
That's
yeah,
yes.
for
The running
sure.
joke is I'm hiring like a personal trainer named Vladimir, and he's gonna help me with my Scrabble game. So that's
Ooh, a Scrabble
yeah.
trainer.
Yes. Well,
I
we're
like the
gonna
way you think, Reed.
yes. Thanks.
I do.
All right, much ado about nothing as we talk. So, this is 11:03. I got through another hour. This has been super fun, and thank you, as always, my friends.
Thank you for having me on. It's so much fun, always.
In closing, can you say what's going on with ThoughtFlow this week?
You know, I don't know if any of you have been watching the South Lake or listening to the South Lake podcast that we talked about a few weeks ago. It was on a Friday, our first Friday show. This week is also going to be on a Friday. I think it's at 1. I forgot. But we'll post it. So I think we're going to touch back with South Lake because it's been really interesting. The community has had its election, and now they have brought in the new school board members, and it's a complete shit show. But I really, watching this and listening to this and seeing how this whole talk about race is unfolding has been really eye-opening and yet confirming in not a great way. So I love to talk about this kind of stuff again, just because I think it's interesting to see what others, and especially people from across the pond, have to say about it.
Yes.
So we'll probably talk about that. And then I just want to drop this. You might not, well, you're in Canada. You might have known it. You might not have. But so I saw a meme yesterday that said that that Mount Rushmore was, I'm sorry, that Stone Mountain and Mount Rushmore were partially funded by the KKK. And I was like, there's no way that was the case, because there's a part of me that doesn't want to think something so gross is a thing. But alas, I looked it up and it was indeed a thing. And now I'm all verklempt. So that's probably going to be on the ticket for a conversation as well. It's just
Yes.
very interesting stuff. And, then you foil that back with, well, so then why again don't we want to talk about and teach real history?
Mm-hmm.
So part of the conversation.
Woo, spicy.
Sizzling. So that's Thought Flow on Friday.
Hey, that's gonna be great. I will
hope you can make
repost
it.
that. Yeah, it's gonna be good times.
Yes. So thank you. Thanks for letting me promo that too.
No problem. Yes. Thank you to you, to Allie, to Tammy, all good stuff, and to everyone who joined us today as always. Such good people, such amazing teachers. Like I could just go on about how like awesome these smart people, supportive people are actually technically good teachers, like legit.
For sure. I think about like what would it take once all of this pandemic nonsense is over? What would it take to like get us all together in one place, just to kibbutz and like be together and share all of this fantastic energy? I don't know what it looks like. I hope it looks like it's on an island, but just putting it out there. But I think that it's something that we should look at because, we've all been here for each other through
Yes.
all of this. And it would be nice to just kick back with a drink and say, we made it together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of hearts flying for that one.
I'm good with it.
All right.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, my friends.
Have a
All right.
wonderful rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.